So I was thinking today and tomorrow should be good productivity days because I'm taking Gracie to school. So it's like I have no reason to not start earlier. And then as per the norm, I get sidetracked this morning and ended up having to make a couple other stops. There's nothing major. Went over to the bank and then wanted to grab donuts to take over to my grandma's house for breakfast because if we don't take her food, she won't eat. And so she wanted to do that. And I really wasn't wanting to go over there. And most of the time I don't. Yesterday, my mom asked me again if I was mad at my grandma. It's like, no. Just left it at that. It's like they're... I've said many times that they're among the most negative people that I know. And, kind of just left it at that. But it's like, apparently that's still not catching on as to why I don't want to spend all my time over there anymore. So, yeah. I have found that, okay, my mom said she wanted to spend like an hour over there, and I was like, well, I really don't need to go, but I'll pop in long enough to say I did. And then I think it was a little over an hour. I was like, well, I'm leaving. And my mom still hadn't done the thing she'd gone over there to do, which was something with calling an insurance company or something. They're still dealing with my grandfather's passing stuff, obviously. And yeah. It is now after 12 and she's still not back, and it was 9 when she said that she was going to be over there for maybe an hour. So it's like, yeah, that's why I don't do those, or that's part of why I don't do those. The other part is just the negativity, right? So got myself distracted on the doom scrolling this morning while I was over there, and then I was having a hard time getting away from that again when I got home. And I showed those cards that I pulled the other day from the Animal Apothecary deck, and the Falcon card came out again last night. And, that's the one that talks about you're going to have to use discipline to keep moving forward, and the victory is yours if you are able to keep going on this path, right? But it's going to take more than just motivation. It's going to take discipline to do the thing. And obviously, that is not one of my strong points. It's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny because I'm like one of those people, if I go to the store after one thing, I can stick with that one thing and, in and done. But if I don't have a set time or set things that I need to get or whatever, then I can kill all sorts of time. But usually if there's like something, a specific purpose or motivation that I'm going after, it's like I can focus on getting that thing and then be done in that space. And I feel like I need to apply that in other areas better. Yeah. So trying to think. I was making fun of my blanket the other day because my mom got us these Betsy Johnson blankets for Christmas, and I like it, and it's got skulls and hearts, but it's like hearts, skulls, and BJs. Yeah. But whatever. Initials, I get it. But still. I was thinking about that before I started the video. My brother and I had a conversation the other day because they got a couple blankets too, and we're just having a conversation about it. It's like, well, I like mine, and this then I mentioned, or I said that, and I was like, oh, well, put it that way. It's like, I kind of thought about it, but it didn't entirely register, like, when I was first hanging out with my blanket. I like my blanket. It's not going anywhere. It's soft. But yeah, now that's what I think of every time I see it. And since it's in my office, I see it a lot because it's on my desk chair unless I'm using it. Well, it's either I'm using it or it's under my ass because it's on the chair. Yeah, whatever. It is what it is. The writing has been more productive this recently. Okay. Forward motion is still forward motion. So, last week I wrote like 3 pages handwritten. Well, actually, I don't think I made it that far. I made it to 3 pages when I was typing yesterday. But last week I started like with the handwriting part. And, that probably was 3 pages overall, because I would like start a section and then find myself backtracking, and it's like, well, that's not where I'm supposed to start, and then I would start at a different point, and then it's like, nope, that's still not it, and I kept going back, and then I got to the point where I thought that the start point was the negative synchronicities, right? Because this is like at the time that I knew very much where I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And I've said on here many times that walking down the aisle at my wedding, I had that voice that kept saying, no, don't do this. You do not have to do this. Why are you doing this? Kind of a thing. And did it anyway, because for some reason I felt like I had no choice. I was talking to some people last night. It's like, I think that was like kind of that karmic cord kind of connection where it's like, I felt like I had to do it, even though everything in me was saying it was a bad idea and I shouldn't go through with it. But then I did it anyway, and ended up just as bad as that voice would have had me believe it would have been. That's kind of where I've been focusing on the start point, was like all the series of things that went wrong after that kind of confirmed that I was not where I was supposed to be. And that's been like a big thing that I've been spending time with. God, 12:22 on this clock. I sat here for a while, and then the wrong clock said 3:21, and then this clock said 12:12. And I still sat a little bit, but now we're at 12:22 over here. So, yeah, because of synchronicities. But yeah, like as I've realized now that the synchronicities show you are where you're supposed to be. It's like back at that point in time, I was able to, like, I knew I wasn't where I was meant to be in my life, and yet for whatever reason, like I said, karmic connection, I felt like I had to go through with it, right? So while that voice was saying, don't do it, it's like I still was unable to not do it. But then I had all the things, like just a series of things that kept showing that I was not where I was meant to be. Like losing my job within an hour of signing the lease on this rental home. And just like a whole bunch of things like that. So I kept backtracking, and then I got to that point, and it's like, I think this is where I'm supposed to start. And I think that idea of where it's supposed to start, I think that's going to keep shifting, honestly, because I think there's so much of the story that have to tell and to get it out of my system. But in order to, big part of the issue I have on things like this, 3:33 on the wrong clock now, is the fact that I've always struggled with things not being perfect. And always felt like whenever I started, I was supposed to just be able to start and get, start, go all the way through, be done, and that's it, right? And then it wasn't going to go in all these circles and everything. But like my whole healing journey has showed me that everything works in spirals. And you can't just go straight through because it works for that point in time. It's like, maybe that's the story you need to start with, but then there's going to be other... Yeah, basically, it's weaving things together, right? It's like all these different stories, and they converge into this much more expansive thing than, yeah, I don't know. Yesterday, I was like, I have this much written out by hand. I can start putting that in the computer in a Word document, right? So I open up the document and I type out the first big paragraph that I had written. And then I found myself backtracking this whole other journey too. It's like, oh, okay. So, what I thought was supposed to be the start point. I don't think it's the actual start point, but I think it's just this whole where I'm at today, what am I weaving into the mix today? And I think I need to start looking at it that way rather than, you know, that whole perfectionism thing, because that doesn't get you anywhere. That's all that's gotten me so far when I've been trying to make things perfect before I do anything, is not getting going at all. You know, and that goes back to that discipline piece, and that goes back to just forward motion, and you gotta, you know, I don't know if it was the victory card that was talking about it, but there was like one of them yesterday was talking about even just dedicating 20 minutes to your goal will help you get closer to your goal than avoiding it because you're waiting for it to be perfect. And that's legit. Wasn't getting anywhere. And at this point in my life, I spent a whole lot of time not getting anything accomplished because I was afraid of screwing things up. You know, and it's kind of funny because there's this book writing challenge. I forget the guy's name that did it. It came across I wanted to say I came across it on Instagram back in like 2020. And I'll be honest, everything in the 2020s has run together. So I will not say for a fact that anything happened at any point in time. It's like, yeah, it's sometime in the past 5 years this shit's happened. Like, I know like the twin flame side of things. I know that there were all these things that happened that started me on this healing process and making big forward progress. But even then I wasn't really aware of you know, what specifically had happened to change things until 2023. I do know that part because 2023 was when I was working at the one factory and had a bunch of other stuff like that were right there together with it. And like there were things that happened specifically. It was like I hit 40 and suddenly that part of okay, so I've talked about those knowings that I had back in high school. And the one was, you know, the 5 guys that were really important in my life and, you know, that I'm here to change the world with, if you will. You know, even that, finding 5 as like, or like the 5 guys that have some big impact in my life, that's been a consistent thing. Because, like, okay, my brother, my friend Charlie, the guy I dated in high school, and then the 2 guys I was in percussion with from 6th grade on, and then, you know, we finished out drumline my junior and senior years. Well, they came back sophomore year, and I was in band that whole time. I joined marching band in 8th grade, and they went and did sports. But then when our school had the actual drumline start up, then they had to participate in band in order to do the winter percussion stuff. So they came back sophomore year. The sophomore year, they were the upperclassmen that felt very, you know, like they were accepted into the group of the upperclassmen. I was not. So junior and senior year was when kind of we became better friends and, you know, got to know each other better. But those 5 guys, my brother Charlie, the guy I dated, and then Tyler and Paul, were like the big people that I can say specifically, even though it wasn't anything they specifically said or did, they were huge in keeping me from following through on like all the years of suicidal ideation I'd been struggling with at that time. You know, so it's like there are these different things where it's like the specific group of 5 is like a landmark, like something big, and like it signifies something specifically. I've talked about how, okay, like once I figured out who the twin flame is, and like the specific 5 people in this one band, it's like the combination of those energies was what what triggered me to feel safe enough to start really diving deep into the whole healing process. And yeah, but it's like I keep coming back to 5, and it's like they're interchangeable and they serve different purposes. But, you know, going to that, like, that point where I've talked on here before about, like, Harmonious Hearts talks about, like, the keys and codes. And I've heard other people mention the keys and codes, and, you know, talk about it in various ways. But what I feel like it is like when the specific energies come together, it's like there's something about that thing, energetically speaking, that, like for me, the twin flame, finding out who he was, and then making this connection, and then starting to see that these were the guys that I was seeing, but it's also an interchangeable thing where it's to keep pointing back to this thing that is helping things to shift, I guess, collectively. Where was I going with that? Oh, it was there, this set of 5 specific energies that got me to the point of feeling energetically like it was safe to come out of hiding and safe to start doing the work. And I know that sounds crazy. Story of my life. Yeah. But, you know, I've talked about how there was like a live stream concert that I watched back during the pandemic. So that was 2020. I do remember that because that was the year the concert I was dying to go to got canceled. I was so pissed because it was canceled. It got postponed and then canceled later that year, and I was pissed, and it was all because of the pandemic. But so I watched this live stream concert, and then of course there was the one guy. It's like the twin flame. It's like, okay, when I was watching it, it's like there's something here for me, and it's like his energy. It was like there's something there. But then there were 2 other guys. It's like there's something there too, but I didn't know what it was. And then when I, you know, started figuring out some of this stuff last year, back in January 2024, I went to the gym one day, and as I step on the treadmill, I like, in my head, I flash to this other place, and it's like I'm standing there with these other two guys that I said I knew there was something there, but I didn't know what it was. It was kind of like my higher self directing me, here, you wanted to know, now you're gonna know. You know, it was like this thing where I'm standing there in this space with these two guys, and we're just kind of staring at each other, and I hear myself say, what, you don't recognize your sister because you've never met her in the physical before, or something like that. And it's like, oh, so it's like there's this other connection, and it's like it's multi-layered, and then at that point, is it a dream? Is she nuts? God, that's I think that right there is a piece of why I've been so afraid to use my voice along the way, is because I've always known that part of what I'm here to do is start talking about this shit that's going to sound crazy to anybody that hears it, that doesn't give a shit about spirituality one way or another, or has never thought about it or whatever. It's like, I'm supposed to start talking about this stuff before a lot of people really get into it as well. Obviously, I'm not the first by any means. You know, and there have been many other teachers that I've come across along the way, like, you know, part like I can say specifically that okay, when I was in the military, that was when I realized I was an empath, that I didn't hear that word until I was in seminary and doing my hospital chaplaincy internship. But then, when the lady was talking about it, I remember I got pissed at the word, and just like the way she said the word or something, and it's like, yeah, that's not right. And it was just like, it had this one point on it that was grating to my nerves, and I got fixated on that and couldn't move beyond that piece. 3:45 on the wrong clock. Yeah, but I got fixated on this detail, and then didn't really do anything else with it until, well, okay, so the military thing, what it was, I had to be a battle buddy with this other girl. Two of us were older, so we got asked to battle buddy this younger girl because she had to talk to some of the cadre. And in that experience, so we go into this room full of drill sergeants, which is terrifying in and of itself when, you know, you don't know exactly what's happening. You were just asked to go along with this girl and stand in for her because she needed somebody there. Because that's one of the rules of basic training. You don't get to be one-on-one with any of the cadre because that, you know, opens up the possibilities for, you know, sketchy shit to happen or be accused of happening, right? Anyway, she had ended up getting, okay, before I get there, me and this other girl go into the situation, don't really know what is going on, just know that the one girl needs to talk to the cadre. And so we go in there, and it's like I felt like I was trembling the whole time that I was there. And honestly, for the first part of it, I just thought that it, you know, I didn't want to fuck up in front of the cadre. You know, it's like, how much can you mess up your next few weeks in this experience if you screw something up just standing there in front of these people and, you know, hearing what's happening. But when they walked in, it's like I got hit with this wave of intense anger and like the urge to cry, and it was like, okay, granted, if you watched any of my videos, you know that I am not above crying at the drop of a hat anymore, but there used to be a time when it was not so easy. And I was able to hold it in and contain myself a lot better. And that was before my big head injury, so I think it was still in the time frame where I was able to do that to some degree. But it's like it took everything in me to not hit my knees and bawling, just with this wave of emotion that came crashing over me when they walked in. It's like, what is that all about? I don't know what's happening, but now I really don't want to fuck this up in front of these people. And then the girl starts talking, and she had ended up being sexually assaulted by one of the drill sergeants. And so that was like a whole thing. And like there was this sketchy thing that had happened that everybody knew something was up with this guy, because he said he had a piece of purple paper that was for his wife, and he lost it. But it was not to his wife, it was to this kid, I think, the 17-year-old kid in basic training. It's like, when he was looking for it, when we were having to go through the equipment room to get some supplies before we were going out into the field or something. And I remember him being like really freaked out about it. And then I don't know what amounted to any of that. And I don't remember if that was before or after. I'm going to say that was probably before the situation where I was in front of these drill sergeants with this girl that had been assaulted. Because otherwise he wouldn't have been able to be there still. Because as soon as that whole thing came out, he ended up demoted and moved to another group, and I don't think he was drill sergeant anymore. But it's like that experience of being with this girl who'd been assaulted in front of the cadre. It's like that was what really made me start to connect with this idea of being an empath. And I didn't know what that... Okay, I hadn't heard the term at that point in time. And in basic, it just became this thing where I felt like I hated everybody through most of the experience, especially after this conversation with the cadre. But it wasn't until I got home from basic and AIT that I really felt lighter and like it was no longer in my system. And it's like, wait, what's that all about? It's like, it feels like now that I'm away from this environment, it's just completely dissipated. And it's like, I remember that that feeling very, very vividly the entire time, just hating everybody and not wanting to be there. Just a whole lot of heavy stuff. And I mean, naturally, that's part of basic training, right? And it was kind of a weird experience because it seemed like everybody kind of hated each other all throughout basic training. And then you get to family day and the final thing is before you're completely done. And then it's like you're bonding with these people over this thing y'all just survived together. So yeah, but there's it wasn't until I got home and away from it that it really felt like that whole heavy, dense energy had dissipated at all. And then it's I just had this fleeting thought of it wasn't mine to begin with. And I remember I was sitting on the couch with my mom. We were watching something on TV, and I was talking about this thing. And then I get up to go to the bathroom, and the thought that popped into my head was, "Well, that sounds kind of mystical." It's yeah, it does. I don't even know what that really. I mean, okay, you know what mystical meant loosely, but the idea of, mysticism being a thing, that wasn't a thing at that point to me either. But when I had that thought of, well, that seems kind of mystical, then it was just this whole other thing. And those moments, I've talked on here several times, where it's the universe is just putting a little pin in it. It's you're gonna come back to this, and it's very important, but right now there's other stuff that has to happen before it can come together. you know, and that's the writing thing. It's like connecting these little, or finding the little pins and navigating through that part of that story. You know, weaving all of that stuff together for the big picture thing, which I think is why it's taken so long and been so difficult to focus on this writing thing, right? But anyway, like the whole basic training experience, and then like after the basic training, when I realized maybe it wasn't even mine to begin with, you know, then it still wasn't it, like I had these things like little memes or whatever that would pop up on Facebook that would talk about empaths, and it's like it was the universe like saying, hey, there's more to this. We're not done with this yet, you know. But I still didn't fully get it. Like when I was with my ex-husband, it's like I knew there was this thing that I picked up other people's stuff, but it still never really occurred to me that that was something that I was doing with like his energy as well. It's like it's kind of there in the background, but it's not something that it wasn't something that I could focus on to any kind of degree. So yeah. But then when I got my divorce, then it like was a little more highlighted on what was going on with me. You know, like I talked about, like the crystals red jasper is a reason that I was able to finally disconnect from my ex-husband. And then it's like I was seeing all these things happen, and it was like somewhere beyond me, I was like a fly on the wall in this space watching us interact. It's like, well, that's different. You know, but I could like feel these things. Like, okay, he would, you know, if he was upset about something or whatever, it's like I can tell that it's not mine. It's like I could like slam the door in between us to keep from picking it all up after I started, you know, keeping the red jasper on me. It's like, that's interesting, you know. But when the divorce was finally finalized, I think that was when I was finally able to start looking into what it meant to be an empath even. And this guy kept popping up, Victor Odo, on YouTube, and his thing was talking about empaths. So it was like, these are just like appropriately timed. I need this information right now, right? Which then led me to come across some stuff with Aaron Doughty, and got me into some meditation and whatnot that I didn't really know I didn't know much about any of it. But it's like, okay, so something to try and see what happens, right? And God, there were some weird things. Like, I remember doing this meditation one night before bed, and it was like I saw myself in this other space where there were like these discs. One was rotating like upright, and then the other was like, you know, sideways or whatever. And like there were symbols on them, and they were purple, and I didn't really know what was going on, but I saw these things, and then I think where I messed myself up was, so I did this meditation. I was like, ooh, what's all this all about? You know, it's like something's going on here. I don't know what this is. But then the next morning, I was back when my bedroom was in my office space, or my now office space, and I had the bed right here, and it was like a foot away from the wall, and I had probably about a foot and a half, because I had another mattress and box springs behind it that was leaning against the wall. But actually, yeah, that was there. I don't know if I just didn't see it there for like this little moment the next day. but I had this like really weird feeling, and I opened my eyes, and there was like this alien in between my bed and the window. And it was this really weird thing where we kind of like stopped and just looked at each other and was like, oh shit, I've been seen, kind of a thing. And then I opened my eyes and realized it was like a dream or whatever. It's like, the fuck was that? You know, and it felt very much like something was checking, or something or someone was checking in on me specifically, and it's like, I don't know what to do with that. But it was really creepy. And I'll be honest, I stopped meditating for a while after that because it freaked me out. It's like, what is this shit even happening now? So yeah. But you know, it's like those little things that lead up to these other points, and then, you know, and then somebody comes along, and then, you know, you're able to kind of be introduced to more ideas, like deeper layers to the things that, you know, you've been collecting pins on all these little, you know, you had these moments that it's like, this is important for some reason. It's like, you're just not ready for it at that time, or there's other things that have to happen to before you can realize you are ready for it, or to get you ready for it. And that's a whole thing. Well, why was I down that path? I got confused because I saw this lamp, the reflection of it in my computer screen. It's like, what is moving over there? Yeah, don't mind me. Yes, but anyway, I feel like that is kind of the big point of why I am where I am right now, and, you know, why I've had the experiences that I have. It's like, there have been, I got distracted with something outside. Okay. But it's like, I had to have like these certain teachers come across my path to start me being able to work through some of this stuff and make sense of things on my own. But now it's kind of like a tag you're it kind of a thing. And now it's my turn to step into what I'm supposed to be doing, and a big part of what I'm supposed to be doing is talking about the crazy shit. And admitting that it sounds like crazy shit, but in time, you know, it's all going to come together, and there will be a purpose for it as well. But yeah, I feel like, you know, like that's the whole point of awakening, essentially. They're like the process of it. It's like different pieces have to fall into place or come together just right, and going back to that divine timing piece, where, you know, the specific right elements get where they need to be, so then it can open things up for the next you know, people to start getting activated, if you will, into their role and their purpose. If that makes sense. And even if it doesn't, whatever. It is what it is. You know, but I've talked a lot about how I feel like a big part of what I've been doing my entire life has been collecting data. And, you know, so like I have these moments where I get these little pins in them, and I come back to them, and it's like, oh, well, now that makes sense along with these other things, and I can put them all together. It's like weaving it in to this bigger thing, which is the book. Partly, not completely, you know, but I had to start this and start speaking it, because in speaking it, it's helped me clear more space for what's been going on, like spiraling around my head. You know, let me go back to this whole, you can't really see it on that one, my chaos wall over here, you know, my Jackson Pollock walls. It's like, I needed to get the chaos out of my system and be able to see it out of my system before I could start pulling things together and start organizing into where they go and how they fit together. And then there's so many layers where they overlap even that it's still navigating that point as well. You know, how to organize it, but also hold space for the fact that it fits in multiple categories or sections. Yeah. I don't know what's going on out there, but it's kind of bothering me, honestly. Okay. I think somebody is home. That wasn't home a little bit ago. Now they're in their room, which is right across the hall, so it's a little thick. Yeah. And he'll do that. So yeah. Just like weaving things together now. And it's kind of funny because I mentioned the other day that I had a friend that we had the see, I don't even know if you can call that a miscommunication, because I feel like what she meant was communicated, and then my reaction I don't think was unjustified, and it's like I think it was a bit much. But at the same time, you know, I've talked about how I also feel like she was kind of looking for a reason. It's self-fulfilling prophecy stuff where she is so convinced that she can't communicate with people, and that's why she doesn't have or get to maintain friendships that I was a problem because I was still talking to her and going to her town, which was like almost 2 hours away, to visit from time to time. So I felt like what was going on with her got kind of focused on me because she was trying to prove to herself at some level that she's not able to maintain friends. So since I was the one that was still showing up in some kind of way as a friend, you know, it's like she went into self-destruct mode or self-sabotage mode, and oh, well, that's not working out because this doesn't prove this point now. So it either, you know, it's like one of those things, it's like where you have the dissonance in your system, and what are you going to do with it? It's like, this doesn't line up with the story that I'm telling myself, so I'm going to, well, and it's not something that intentionally comes up. It just randomly gets inserted in there somewhere. You know, kind of it was, oh, I think I've been writing about it. I had something with like the deal with my ex before my last ex, the one I didn't marry, but I thought I was going to marry, that I didn't. It's like we had this moment where I was actually feeling like we were getting a lot closer, but I got freaked out at that idea and randomly sent him a message one night when we were both working our night shift jobs and was like, I feel like we're growing apart. And it's like, no, I don't. Where did that come from? It's like, well, we were after that. That's for sure. It's like there are things that I feel like contributed to that point, but like, because it was like multi-layered. It's like, yes, on the one hand, there were things that came up where we were kind of disconnecting further, but then it's like there were other ways where it seemed like it was getting closer, and then it was like this random moment that I have no idea where it even stemmed from. It was just like a panic washed over me, and then I said this thing, and it's like, oh, well, then you can't turn back from it. It's like, then it's already, you know, then the ball's rolling, and it's like, there it goes. Whatever happens, happens. And what happened there was a breakup, and what happened with this friendship, that might essentially be the same. Because I know, like, despite apologies on both ends, the next day she still left the group, and she hasn't said anything to me since. It's like, on the one hand, I also haven't said anything to her, but it's like, I feel like part of that is because, the universe moving things that are out of alignment and just basically, okay, it's ready to release this. So it came up as this other thing, but yeah, but I feel like that's kind of what happened there. But anyway, I feel like that, like even when it came in at, was that last week or was it the week before now? Shit. Time, what is time? Time is made up. So I want to say it was last week, but honestly, like literally everything runs together. But yeah, it's like, no, it had to have been the week before, because I feel like that was the week I started going back to the classes at Inner Path. And yeah, it was kind of like moving the stuff that is out of alignment with where I'm going, so more space can be made for what's coming in. Yep. And 555 on the timer as I said that, so which, by the way, fives are change, so yeah, makes perfect sense. Yeah, but so I've gone to 3 of the groups at Inner Path since that whole thing came about. And like, I'm pretty sure, God, sorry, that's so distracting. Like for me, like once I see it's all goofy. Got this dog down here again. Yeah, but it's like I cleared up space and then had to get back into the group where things are in alignment again, right? And it was kind of funny because last night, night before last, my vulture shirt that I was all excited about, I've shared on here before because I love that shirt. And it's like my new favorite shirt, and I've only got to wear it twice because I haven't had it that long. And it was in the laundry for part of it. So when it got done in the laundry the other day, it's like I want to wear this to class. Like I really felt like I wanted to wear it to class. And I didn't feel like I was finding things I wanted to put with it. Now, mind you, I've talked on here before many times, I am my own art project, right? So yeah, this is today's outfit, the spiderweb leggings and the Lover's Tarot shirt. Skeleton tarot, or skeleton lovers, no less. So yeah, but it's like I didn't find leggings that I liked with it that night, and so I settled on something else. And yesterday morning when I got up, it's like, no, I have to wear that shirt today. It's like, whatever reason, I just have to, and so then I got to thinking, it's like, wait a second, there's this pair of leggings that I have. It's like, they're not my favorites at all because they're kind of weird colors. They got like skulls on them. And like, there's the green that was the color that my shirt was, which is why it ended up going together. But then there's like these blue gears, and then there's like some yellow and orange. It's just like really weird pair, and I bought them, but I don't remember why specifically. Maybe specifically for that shirt. I just didn't, I got the leggings before I knew that I was going to have that shirt. Yeah. So I was doing this thing. Oh, I got those when I was working at another factory job because they said we could wear leggings, and then after I wore jeans like the first 2 nights or whatever, and my thighs were chafing, and then it was like so bad that I was like practically in tears walking out to the car. It's like, yeah, we're gonna go to leggings. So then that became like this thing, which is really silly because I remember being in high school and it's like my specific look, this whole jeans and everything. It's like I wanted to do this shit in high school and I didn't, because I didn't want to stand out. And then I was working in a factory, and it's like, this is not working, like the jeans situation was not working. So it's like, well, then I start wearing leggings, and it's like, I do not like the idea of going up on a ladder and working with some dude, and like, I don't have anything more than leggings covering my ass. So it's like, plus I need pockets. I'm just somebody that needs pockets, damn it. And so I started wearing the shorts over it. And then next thing I know, I'm wearing like this whole outfit is something that I wanted to do back then, but I never was brave enough to do it because I was afraid of standing out back then. Now it's like, yeah, whatever. Embrace the weird. I get frequent comments on how my hair matches my shoes even, so it's what it is. Like I said, I'm my own art project. But anyway, so I had these leggings that I remembered yesterday morning. And like I only wore them like when I was working at the factory or when I was at a roller derby practice, because they're not like ones that I wanted to have as go-tos. But then it's like, hey, they do, however, match the shirt. And I thought about black leggings with just leg warmers over the top of them, and it's like, that's not enough color. There's not enough color for me. Obviously, I am somebody that has a good appreciation for color. And a lot of it. So, yeah. I was thinking the other day, it's like, okay, I have this shelf that is just black. I didn't paint it, and now I'm wishing that I had. Because it's like, it feels so, I don't know. Like, I like how these frames are colors too, and it's colors over colors. I like that. Give me more of that. But that's me. Anyway, so I made it work where I didn't love the outfit entirely, but I got to wear the shirt, and I was happy with that. But then there was this whole thing where okay, so there's this couple that comes that I don't know how long they've been going, but I've only seen them, I've seen them the couple times I've been back or whatever. Yeah. And apparently they ride with this other lady in the group, or they bring her along with them, and her, like, I knew her, like, when I went to the group before, or knew who she was, but they didn't want to, or they'd apparently been having a conversation in the car, and the older lady asked if she could share it, and it was something to do with vultures. And then it turned to this conversation that was about what vultures mean to everybody, and it's just like, y'all. I was like, I honestly, when I got there yesterday, I was so excited about this shirt that I wanted to just unzip my hoodie and be like, look, I love this shirt so much. But I didn't, so I had a hoodie over it and kept trying to like make sure it was unzipped enough that I could have like the bird's head peeking out or something. It's like, it didn't work out, right? So then when this conversation comes up, it's like, I can't not after that. And everybody was impressed because I had a vulture on my shirt, and who has that? Who even thinks, hey, I want a shirt with a vulture on it? I did. But it took me a little while to get there. Yes, but then I had it, and then it came up with this, it's one of those things that's just showing you that you're exactly where you're meant to be in that moment. It's like, yeah, I need more of those. I love those moments. It's like I've had the ones where it's proven that I've not been where I'm supposed to be when everything goes wrong. It's like, well, I like these much better. They're way more fun. Yeah, so I, since I was wearing the shirt also, got to go into a little bit on the reason I got the shirt, which was that whole, transmuting things and realizing that I was, I talked about that video I watched the other day where the guy said there are three types of transmuters, and it's like one of them is like, you share the energetic space and you just leave more uplifted just because of the energy that they provide. And then like the third type he said was the kind that absorb everything. It's like, that's me. I absorb all of it. So it's like, that's why I'm so like extra cautious about my energy and who I want to spend time around and all that stuff, making sure I have to like cleanse my space. But like, this wasn't stuff I even realized that I had to do years ago, but I feel like specifically the people that I am meant for, they're going to come across my stuff later, but I feel like this whole thing, like the fact that, other people that absorb it as well. I feel like they'll find me when they need me after I've got so much of this out of my system and posted so it can be found. And I had one freaking day I did a video and was talking about, like, I found like this random tiny orange dot over on this one wall, and it's like, then there's all these orange dots over here. It's like, but how do I get over there over there with the rest of my dots, right? And here, let me find my dot. Oh, I don't know if it'll be the same one because it might have a poster of it. Well, I don't think it really matters, but it's just like, well, these little stray dots, right? Oh, that one. We'll go with that one because it's smaller. Yeah. But then it's like, well, how do I grow my dot, right? And I think that goes back with that whole, like, authenticity piece, and just, like, be more of your glorious weird self. And share more of that. And it's funny because, like, when I was talking in the group last night, it's like, I had this stack of cards. Let's use this. Well, here. It's like, I had my hand this way and my other hand going this way around it. Never mind, this is my light switch for my lights that I forgot to turn on today. Yeah. It's but like I had the death grip on these cards, and I was holding, like, one hand was going one way and the other hand was going the other way, and I was just like trying not to, like, shake, because it was just like the whole time it's like, I really want to share this though, but this is like, also there's so much of it, and it's like really exciting and also really kind of terrifying because I'm talking and it's like scary. So yeah. Yeah, but it's like embracing that is part of the joy of who I am at this moment. And allowing myself to share more of that with the world, so that in time, when the right pieces have come together, then bird feathers, then people who need what I have to say, or something from who I am, will happen into my orbit. Right? So, I felt like that was kind of a big thing last night too, is, those two, like, I remember seeing them the week before. I think they might have been there the previous week as well, but it was one of those where I was back and didn't know everybody there, and it's like, I don't know who all these people are, so it's all awkward again. So I'm just gonna go sit in this spot that was a little, like, I sit closer to the front now, and like the most inside wall of the room, I guess, and away from the door. Whereas before, I always sat by the door. It's like, in case I need to run. But yeah, now it's like I've wandered in further. But I still, like, that first day back, it's like, I don't know who a lot of these people are anymore. And then, yeah, oh God, and names. Even though we've had a couple days where we've even gone around the circle with names for, like, I think one day we did it like 5 times, because people, we did the introductions, and then more people came in, and then we did the introductions again, and somebody else came in, so it was like one day I think we did it like 5 times, because it was just like right in a row, and we hadn't really gone into anything else at that point. But it's like every single time we do names, it's like, I really want to take in what people are saying in the names, and it's like, sometimes I just can't. And it's like, I get so fixated on trying to focus, so when it comes to, like, focus on where we're at in the circle, I want to hear the names, but I'm not really registering the names, because by the time it gets to me, I want to make sure I say my name right? It's like, oh, great. Because I might suddenly forget who I am by the time it gets over to me. Yeah. And the girl that shares my name, we haven't sat next to each other in a while. It's like, if I was sitting next to her, then I might try to remember others, because then hers would be the last one that I heard, so I would be more inclined to remember it and be like, oh yeah, that's mine too. Yeah. That just made me think of, watch this ZoltanComedy thing earlier. This guy was talking about how when he's in line at like Starbucks or whatever, like how he takes a step and repeats the order in his head, so it's like he remembers it when he gets up there. It's like, yeah, I do that with everything, like my name, so I don't forget and say something stupid when I go to speak. It's like, y'all, we all do this shit. And if we don't, I think that's the more the rare occasion anymore, or the rare person. But I feel like there's so many of us that are like the full awkward is just coming out. It's like, yep, this is. I feel like, it's the divine expressing itself. So let's take it that way. Because it's one of those things. It's like you can, at some point, you just got to embrace the awkwardness, and it is what it is, and this is me, and I'm not really sorry for it. And I might be so sorry I sound like an idiot from time to time, but whatever. But anyway, God, I went on that tangent because I was talking about, or I was going to say that, going back to that point of being where you're supposed to be, and like how the things coming together in that kind of way where, hey, suddenly we're having this conversation because this guy that doesn't talk in group much yet had an experience and wanted to know more about it or talk more about it, but also wasn't feeling comfortable enough to mention it, kind of a thing. And then it's like, well, hey, let me embrace my awkwardness because I really want to share this shirt. And honestly, like, there were a few things. Like, when I got in there, I just want to be like, take the sweatshirt off and be like, hey, Annie, look at my shirt. I love this shirt. But I didn't. And I was like, why? Why didn't I? At this point, just embrace the awkward, right? Yeah. And then it ended up being something that was really exciting anyway, and when it did come up. But it was like, I was meant to talk about it then too, and it was really close to not wearing it because I couldn't find something that I wanted to pair with it. And then I didn't love what I had completely paired with it, but this was the best that I had, so I just kind of rolled with it. It was the leg warmers. They were yellow, which was in the leggings, but I still didn't yeah. But like I said, I'm my own art project, so love it or hate it, I don't care. This is, it's like I feel more me when I get to be bright and colorful, so. Oh yeah, but then like we ended up sitting together dinner after the group and found out like there was a lot of stuff that we related on. It's like, hey, I like these people. We needed to have this conversation. And then I needed to think through like some of the stuff that I've been kind of trying to get out of my system otherwise, whether it's videos or writing. But either way, now I have done this, so I can say, I mean, I don't want to just check it off, but in a way I check it off because I finally did the thing that, I'm supposed to be doing more of the things. Still got to write. Let's, I have this 119, which by the way is, and that one's 428. 428 is when my sister-in-law's mom died, and 119 is when my grandma died. My dad's mom. So those are numbers that follow me as well. Also, 19s go back to the connectedness of things. So yeah, there's that point too. And yeah. Oh, I know what I was going to say that I didn't say. The other day when I was rewatching the last video I did, the last one, I went ahead and said his name, twin flame name, which, Rick. Okay. So I was talking about all these ways that it's followed me in my lifetime, right? But I forgot some that were very important. But I forgot them because they're more recent. One of them was, okay, you remember that chaplain that I've been talking about that, he invited me to the Army-Navy watch party thing. And I went to that. So his name's Eric. And I was like, I know he goes by something that I remember thinking I would not have paired that together, but I couldn't remember what it was. And so I just that night I just didn't say his name because it's like I don't remember what I'm supposed to call you. And then somebody in one of the other groups that video laughter down the hallway. One of he invited this group of people, a singles group that he's connected with a little bit, he invited some of them, and one of the girls came over and was talking to me and said, well, how do you know Rick? It's like, that's what he went by, and it makes sense. But it also was like, I knew it wasn't something that normally I hear of with Eric, but okay, that, I guess it makes sense. But that was one of those things. It was like, this dude's just like randomly, he just randomly invited me to this thing, and then it's like, well, then I randomly was like, well, maybe I should go, because I kind of socializing with the military people and trying to embrace the fact that even though I always felt like an outsider, there was still a reason I ended up in that situation too, because something in me, resonates with that group of people as well. So it's like, it's like trying to figure out how to embrace all aspects of your personality, right? And obviously, military wouldn't take me with purple hair and blue makeup. But yeah, I wouldn't go back now anyway. I got what I needed out of that experience, and I think it was primarily that whole empath piece. Yeah. And, to like, one of the big things is like, it literally would not matter which branch of the military I went into. There was going to be some kind of situation along that line, because sexual assault and rape are like very prominent things in the military in general, and it doesn't matter which branch. But then it's like, why? And that's something that I've kind of, I think, always been out to kind of navigate through, is the why things happen, and like what structures are in place that allow that to be the prominent issue or a prominent issue. And it's a prominent issue because, like, freaking one weekend a month, 2 weeks in the summer, I can't tell you how many of those stupid assault videos I had to sit through, because it didn't even have to be anything connected to our unit specifically. If there was anything that had gotten brought up where that was a thing that happened in some kind nearby sphere, whatever, then we had to watch the video again. Just like, okay, so I think we ended on it with, like, it might have been my last 3 drills where that was a piece of the weekend. It's like, so what is it about what's in place currently, like religious values and political systems, that makes that in some way okay? And we're working on that one, and I have a bunch of thoughts on that one. But I'm going to say this: the government is far too concerned with what is in anybody's pants and not caring about the actual person, and therefore that opens a lot of space for allowing stupid shit like that to happen. So yeah. But yeah, anyway, that was not the point. I don't even know why I went that little moment. Oh, just the military bit. The other thing, and that was going back to the names thing, and literally it was just because the chaplain, and then because this group, and then because this thing, and it's like, because me. It's like, this is why I have so much fun trying to navigate how things fit together, because there's so much of it that I'm trying to pull together. And so, like, I like all my crazy colors and the busyness because I can see it outside of my system. So now I can try to start making sense of it more to organize it, right? So that makes sense. Okay, going back to the name thing. Which I really don't like that idea, trying to go back to the other ways this name has come up, when that was a detour that I ended up on, but this is me, y'all. Anyway, the other 2 points where the name came in at. One of them was the last day I went to see my grandfather in the hospital. And it was the day that I told my mom that at some point she had to be okay with that man dying. It had to be okay at some point. But that was when we had that conversation. So when I first walked in there that day, and mind you, I've been getting the pat on the back the whole way over there about, yes, we're going to do the thing. We're going to say what needs to be said and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, I verified the room number because it wasn't the same. I think it was a different room than he'd been in previously. And I stopped in the bathroom and I walked past this little short lady. I was like, I know her. Why do I know her? And then I was like, oh yeah, she babysat somebody that my mom, or she was a parent of somebody my mom used to babysit. And it's like, okay, but who? And then I was in the bathroom washing my hands. It's like, Ricky. Of course, she was Ricky's mom. It's like right there. And apparently her mom that, you know, she used to work over at the school. My parents worked at the school. Me and my brother worked at the school for a time. Her mom, Ricky's grandma, worked over there for years as well. So apparently I think she died the day before my grandpa died. But it was like right there, it's like a couple people, 1:11, and yes, I saw it at 11. But even after that, there's a whole space where it's still 1:11 at 1 something as it clicks through the teens, so there's 11:11. But anyway, that was another place that came up. And then there was another day. It wasn't that day because there were more people there. I think it was closer to Thanksgiving when I went, because, you know, Thanksgiving was the day he ended up going from the nursing home back to the hospital that last time. And then I don't think I don't remember. It all runs together. There's so much shit. Anyway, I remember there was a different day that I got there, and I think the nurses came in to deal with some potty things, right? So everybody left. We went to the waiting room. And so I'm sitting there with my mom, my grandma, my aunt and uncle, and my dad. And this guy comes out from this area. There was an intensive care unit or whatever. And my dad looks at him. He says, "Hey, are you related to this guy?" And, you know, and the guy says, "Which one?" You know, and apparently there were like 3 of them that he was related to. But apparently the one guy that he was talking, or my dad talked to him about, was his brother. And he said his brother had died last year on Thanksgiving. Okay, that's what it was. It was before he left to go to the nursing home the last time. Because I was like, why does that feel kind of foreboding, right? So he talked about this guy that my dad was asking about had died the year before on Thanksgiving, or the day after, or whatever. And so that was a whole thing. And it's like, okay, but they have this whole conversation. And then as this guy is going to leave, my dad says, "Hey, what's your name?" And he says, "Rick." It's like, yes, of course it's Rick, because Rick is everywhere. You know, and it just keeps popping up. And it's like, oh, there it is again. There it is again. And, you know, even like, what is it, like a bunch of wood or something that's called a rick. I've heard that terminology. I think that's what it was about. And then, like, I heard something, there was a sign one of those days that I was leaving from the hospital, and it said something about ricks or whatever. I don't know. It's just like it keeps popping up in really weird places. And same with the birthday. Same with initials even, because, yep, that's one. And actually, I've talked on here before about how I had this conversation, you know, with the, you know, higher self, whatever, his higher self, however that connection works. One day when I was walking the dogs and was like trying to figure out his middle name. So this one name came up, and I've talked about it on here before, but I'm not going to this one. But it came up before, and then it's like, okay, so if that's his initial, then these would be the 3 initials, and it's like, okay, if that is the case, I want to see that verified by having it stand out somewhere, like it shows up, so it's like clearly meant for me. And then I was driving home one day and I look over and I see something, it's right in the middle. And then not only is it right there, but that was the type of, or like what was on this camper was also on like this, it was a brand of truck. It's like, my ex drove one of those. And then the other vehicle that he got, when he didn't want to get the car that he had fixed, the next vehicle he had those initials in the middle of it too. It's like, so it was there the whole time. It's literally all these ways, name, birth date, initials, everything's been dancing around me my entire life, and I have not not realized it until like this whole twin flame thing came up, and then I started like piecing the shit together. And that only was able to happen after I got so much of the old shit cleared out of my system, so I could, you know, start navigating the more recent stuff and what's actually going on. But I think I'm gonna call it there, because hour and 15 minutes, and there were 55 seconds when I saw it a second ago. Yeah, but I got, you know, I need to focus on some of the writing part too. I'm going back to that discipline piece, and yes, there's this, but I also got to do that too. So it's those are the 2 big projects at the moment, and I need to make sure I spend time on both of them. Yeah. So also, I might want lunch, which will be my leftovers from last night. So as always, I appreciate you. Until the next time, see ya.